And now I want to introduce Meredith Copley. Here she is. She is with Teasley. And I just met Meredith this morning, but Jenny Kruger thinks she is amazing. And so I'm so thrilled that you're going to come speak to us this morning about this. Thank you. Good morning. So my name is Meredith Copley, and I'm from Teasley Elementary. And I'm going to keep this quick, 5 minutes. But I just wanted to tell you, just coming from our school, we're so grateful. Why we're so grateful for Rise Up, millions of reasons, but one of them is when students register at the beginning of the year, they can check if they have a home church or not. I don't know if you remember that part, but a little over 70% of our students do not have a home church and do not go to church regularly. So for us at Teasley, that is super exciting because Rise Up is one of the only ways they might hear the gospel or hear about Jesus. So that is just something we're really excited about at our school and with our school population. So anyways, Jenny asked me to speak today about peace, no pressure. Kind of a big topic there, but I wanted to share with you guys something that I have been learning about lately. And when I think about peace, I feel like God, I've been reading a couple books, I've been having some conversations with some good friends of mine, but peace for me directly relates to me understanding whose I am. And if I do not understand whose I am, peace is just not going to happen in my life. So I'm going to tell y'all a little bit about a book, and I'm going to read from my notes so I don't mess it up. But one of the books that I've been reading is from a guy named Trevor Hudson, and it's called The Cycle of Grace. And I cannot recommend it enough. But essentially, he wrote this book. One of his friends, who is a sociologist, and his last name was Bruner, I believe, was just doing a study on, he was living in India, and was doing a study on, there was all these missionaries in India, and he started just kind of seeing that they were getting really burnt out really quickly, and just weary and cynical, and so he started thinking about why is that? Why do we get burnt out so quickly? Why do specifically people sort of in the Christian mission field get burnt out? And so he started sort of observing Jesus' life and why, okay, Jesus is like the greatest missionary and he was doing some of the hardest stuff, and it seemed, I mean, if God is fully God and fully man, how is he able to sort of sustain this mission work? And so what he talks about in his book is called The Cycle of Grace. And there is one, I don't know if that first image came up, and I'm going to go through God's way of the cycle of grace, but it starts with acceptance. And so I'm going to read from my notes. So it's really cool. Okay, so we start over here with the dot at acceptance. So Jesus knew who he was, and he only began his ministry when he received his identity from the Father. So let's just think about this. Literally, I mean, we start with him casting people out in the synagogue. He was about 14 years old. But then we move to when John the Baptist baptized him, and he comes out of the water. Does anyone remember what happened? This is my son in whom I'm well pleased. So this is where Jesus is starting from. He's basically gotten his identity from God. You are my son, and I am well pleased in you. So that's where he is starting from in life. And I loved this quote from the book. It says, "It's very dangerous to move into ministry without a sense of knowing who you are." So I think about that. I know we're all involved in a lot of different ministries in our churches and Rise Up, probably lots of other things. And how often I move into something without really a good sense of who I am and whose I am. Okay, so he starts at acceptance. And then it talks about how Jesus had sustenance. And this is where I just love Jesus. He's so fully man. He built into his life a number of practices that sustained him. So prayer, relationships, worship, time alone, and quiet reflection. I appreciated that he needed that, and he says that we need that too. So, okay, acceptance, sustenance, and then significance. We all want things in our life to be known for that we were significant, that we played a part. And Jesus, of course, did that too. This is one of the quotes that at the end of the book, it says, as Christians, people will remember us for who we were more than what we did. Okay, and then the last sort of arrow movement here is achievements. So what our accomplishments were, or if we want to be super Christian, we can say our fruitfulness. But, okay, so this is how this is what Jesus lived. He started acceptance, he moved through sustenance, was embodying significance, and then that was his achievement or his fruitfulness that came out. Well, let's go to the next slide, and let's talk about how I lived most of my life, and certainly I feel like that's the effect of the world. We start with achievement. So what are we doing? And we hope that those achievements are going to give us significance in the world, and hopefully that's going to keep sustaining us, right? We can keep living on those achievements, and that's going to keep sustaining us. And then eventually, we'll get to acceptance. Okay? So does that ring true with anyone? That in my life a lot. I'm a mom of 4 small kids, and one of my 7-year-old said a cuss word yesterday, so like right in front of everyone in our neighborhood. Wasn't feeling super significant right there as a mom. And but I think about if I can start from a place of whose I am, oh my gosh, like that opens up everything. And so this is so countercultural to how the world tells us to live. And I think just as people in ministry, as people who are our role, God gives us a role to play in this. We get to start, we get a role to play in His story, but we get to start by being fully accepted. So I'll finish this, and then I'm going to show you one picture. Okay. So the world's way backwards. They sought to achieve in order to feel significant, hoping that that would sustain them, and then maybe they would have a degree of acceptance in their life. We live in a cycle of works, and when we live in a cycle of works, it's a recipe for burnout, weariness, and for cynicism. We must begin. This is a challenge for me. I'm thinking about this. We're in Lent right now. This is kind of what my mind has been focusing on. We must begin to recognize when we're living more in a cycle of works, and then begin to make choices to begin to live more fully in a cycle of grace. So anyways, thinking about peace, whose we are, starting from there, that gives me so much peace in my life. And I always have to end with a picture of art. Art has always been one of the ways that Jesus speaks to me the most intimately. This is, you might have heard of a guy named Rembrandt. He was a Dutch painter, and you probably are, this looks familiar. This is his painting, Return of the Prodigal Son. And it's in the Hermitage in St. Petersburg. It was one of his last works. He worked forever on it. I have a really hard relationship with both of my parents for different reasons, both my dad and my mom. And when I think about knowing whose I am, this painting has been really significant in my life. And what I want to point out to you is, so the prodigal son is returned. He's falling into the arms of his father. And if you look carefully at the hands of the father, the one on the right is clearly more feminine, and the one on the left is clearly more masculine. And I love that Rembrandt depicted that in his painting, that God, we are His, we are fully His, and He knows everything about us. He knows if you're lacking in whatever area your earthly body is lacking. He knows that, and He meets you right there, and He accepts you. You're fully known and fully loved. So anyways, that's just what I wanted to tell you guys this morning. I hope it's meaningful to you. It's been something God has just been writing on my heart lately, and I had to share it. Okay.